Hello, and welcome to Cozy Sleep Time. Before we begin tonight's story, take a quiet moment to settle in and get comfortable. Find a position where your body can fully relax. Whether you're lying in bed, resting on a couch, or simply unwinding after a long day, allow your shoulders to soften. Let your breathing slow down just a little. There is nowhere else you need to be and nothing else you need to do. Here on Cozy Sleep Time, we explore calm and gentle topics. Stories designed to help the mind slow down and drift peacefully toward rest. Each story moves slowly, gently, allowing your thoughts to wander and your body to relax more and more. Tonight's story is about why rain makes us sleepy. As the story unfolds, you can simply listen, or you can allow your mind to drift. There is no need to stay focused. If your thoughts wander, that is perfectly natural. So take one more slow breath. Get comfortable and let the quiet story begin. Tonight, imagine that somewhere outside, very gently, it has begun to rain. Not a storm, not a loud downpour, just a quiet rain. A soft and steady falling of water from the sky, the kind that seems to arrive almost unnoticed. One moment the air is still, and the next moment there is the faintest tapping sound, tiny droplets meeting rooftops, leaves, and the ground below. If you listen carefully, rain does not sound like one single noise. It is many small sounds, layered together. A delicate tapping on a window, a soft whisper through tree branches, a quiet patter along the pavement. Each drop joins the others, until the world outside becomes wrapped in a gentle rhythm. And there is something about that rhythm that feels deeply calming. Perhaps you have felt it before, sitting near a window while rain falls outside. The room feels warm. The outside world feels distant and quiet. The air seems softer somehow. The rain continues falling, slowly, steadily, without hurry. It is one of the oldest sounds humans have ever known. Long before cities, long before electricity, long before the busy noise of modern life, people listened to the rain. They heard it falling on forests, on the roofs of simple shelters, on the earth itself. And in those moments, rain often meant something very simple. It meant it was time to slow down. When rain falls, the world naturally becomes quieter. Birds settle deeper into their nests. Animals find shelter beneath branches or inside burrows. Even the wind often softens, as if giving the rain space to speak. The pace of the day changes. People close windows. They light small lamps or candles. They sit indoors and listen to the gentle sound outside. Rain has a way of inviting stillness. It does not demand attention. Instead, it repeats the same quiet pattern again and again, drop after drop, minute after minute, creating a kind of soft, natural rhythm that the mind easily settles into. Perhaps that is one reason rain feels so calming. Our minds like gentle patterns. When we hear steady, predictable sounds, like waves rolling onto a shore, or wind moving through tall grass, or rain falling from the sky, the brain slowly relaxes. There is nothing surprising about it, nothing sudden, just the same peaceful sound, continuing, repeating, carrying on without effort. And as the rain falls, the world outside often becomes softer in other ways too. The colors change. The air fills with a faint mist that blurs distant shapes. Lights reflect gently on wet streets. Leaves shine with tiny droplets that gather along their edges. Even the smell of the air becomes different. After the first rain touches dry ground, a quiet, earthy scent rises into the air, something ancient and familiar, something humans have experienced for thousands of years. Long ago, before modern houses and insulated walls, rain meant shelter. People gathered inside simple homes made of wood, stone, or earth. They sat beneath roofs that protected them from the falling water outside. Inside those spaces there was warmth, perhaps a small fire, perhaps the sound of quiet conversation, perhaps simply the calm awareness that outside the rain continued falling, while inside everything felt safe. That feeling of shelter is deeply rooted in human memory. Rain outside, warmth inside. The two often go together. Even today, when rain begins to fall, many people feel a natural desire to slow down, to make tea, to read quietly, to sit by a window and watch the gentle movement of water tracing paths down the glass. A rainy evening has its own atmosphere. Imagine one now. Outside, the sky has turned a soft gray. Clouds stretch across the horizon, thick but peaceful, holding the rain above the land. Drops fall onto rooftops in quiet patterns. Some strike metal gutters with a faint ringing sound. Others land softly on grass or soil, disappearing almost instantly into the earth. If you look toward the window, small droplets slowly gather together on the glass. They join one another, becoming larger, and then slowly slide downward in thin, wandering lines. Behind them, the outside world appears slightly blurred, softened by water and mist. Streetlights glow gently through the rain. Their reflections shimmer across wet pavement, stretching into long, golden streaks. Cars pass occasionally, their tires making a quiet shh sound as they move across the damp road. But even those sounds feel distant, softened by the rain itself. In forests, the rain creates an entirely different kind of calm. Imagine tall trees standing close together, their branches forming a wide canopy high above the forest floor. As rain begins to fall, many drops first land on leaves. Tiny tapping sounds spread across the treetops, a soft drumming that travels from branch to branch. Some droplets gather along the edges of leaves before finally falling downward, slowly, one at a time, landing on moss, soil, or fallen pine needles below. The forest becomes filled with layers of gentle sound. The quiet tapping above, the softer falling below, the faint movement of water soaking into the ground. Animals grow still. A deer may stand quietly between the trees, listening. A fox might rest beneath a fallen log. Birds tuck their heads beneath their wings. Rain does not hurry the forest. It simply passes through it, and when it does, the air becomes cool and fresh. The scent of wet leaves and damp earth spreads gently through the trees. For early humans, moments like this were familiar parts of life. Rain shaped their days. When the sky darkened and the first drops began to fall, people often paused their work. Tools were set aside. Fires were protected. Food was brought indoors. And so rain naturally became connected with rest. It created natural pauses in the rhythm of life. Time to gather. Time to sit quietly. Time to listen. Even now, thousands of years later, something inside us still recognizes that pattern. When rain falls, the body often relaxes without us even realizing it. Our breathing slows. Our thoughts become softer and less hurried. The steady sound of rain, acts almost like a gentle background melody, repeating, continuing, carrying the mind away from the busy noise of the day. Some people describe rain as feeling like a blanket for the world, a soft covering that wraps everything in quiet. The roads glisten, the trees shimmer, the air becomes cooler and calmer. Inside homes, lights glow warmly against a gray sky. Curtains move slightly with the faintest breeze. A cup of tea sends slow curls of steam into the air. And outside, the rain continues falling, patient and unhurried. There is no rush in rain. Clouds release their water slowly, sometimes for hours. And during that time, the world often seems to breathe differently. The pace slows, the noise fades. Even thoughts can begin to drift more gently. If you imagine listening closely, you might notice that rain rarely sounds exactly the same from moment to moment. Sometimes the drops become slightly heavier, sometimes lighter, sometimes a brief pause appears before the soft rhythm begins again. These subtle changes keep the sound interesting, but never startling, always gentle, always calm. Perhaps that is why so many people enjoy falling asleep while rain is falling outside. A mind listens to the steady rhythm and gradually lets go of the day's worries. Thoughts begin to drift, just like droplets sliding slowly down a window. One thought fades, another appears, then fades again. The rain keeps falling, minute after minute, drop after drop, and slowly the mind follows that same quiet pace. Long ago, people lying inside simple shelters probably listened to the same peaceful sound, rain tapping softly above them, while the fire nearby flickered quietly. Outside, the darkness held the forest. Inside, there was warmth, protection, and rest. That simple experience has repeated itself for countless generations. Rain outside, shelter inside, a quiet moment to pause. And so, even today, when rain begins to fall, something ancient and comforting awakens within us. A gentle reminder that it is okay to slow down, to listen, to rest. The rain asks nothing of us. It simply falls, patiently, calmly, continuing its quiet journey from sky to earth. And as it does, the world becomes softer, more peaceful, more still. For a little while, everything seems to move at the same gentle rhythm, the slow and steady rhythm of rain. And as that rhythm continues, quietly, endlessly, it carries us deeper into calm, allowing the mind to wander softly, just like the rain drifting down through the night, ready to guide us gently into the next quiet thought. Now, as the rain continues its slow and steady fall, you may begin to notice something gentle happening inside the mind. The sound of rain does not simply exist around us. It quietly touches the way the brain listens, and the way the body begins to relax. If you imagine yourself lying comfortably in a quiet room with rain falling softly outside, you may notice how naturally your attention moves toward the sound. Not because it is loud, but because it is steady. The rain does not demand your focus. It simply offers a gentle background, a soft and continuous presence. Drop after drop, tap after tap, a rhythm that carries on without effort. The human brain is very sensitive to patterns like this. All day long, the mind listens for changes in the world around it. Sudden sounds, sharp noises, unexpected movements. These things catch the brain's attention immediately. They signal that something might be important. But rain is different. Rain rarely arrives in sudden bursts or unpredictable patterns. Instead, it settles into a quiet repetition. The sound becomes smooth and even, almost like a soft blanket of sound spread gently across the night. And when the brain hears this kind of sound, something interesting begins to happen. The mind slowly realizes that there is nothing urgent to listen for. No sudden surprises, no sharp changes, just the quiet rhythm of falling water. When the brain understands this, it begins to relax its constant watchfulness. The listening part of the mind becomes softer, calmer. You may even feel it happening without thinking about it. Your breathing slows a little, your shoulders loosen, your thoughts begin to wander more slowly. It is as if the mind is gently floating on the rhythm of the rain. Scientists sometimes talk about something called white noise, but the idea behind it is actually very simple. White noise is a sound that spreads evenly across the background, filling the quiet spaces where sudden noises might appear. Instead of sharp, isolated sounds, there is a soft, continuous layer of gentle sound. Rain is one of the most natural forms of this. Each tiny drop creates a small sound. On its own, a single drop might be barely noticeable. But when thousands of drops fall together, the sounds blend into something smooth and steady, a quiet shh, like a soft whisper across the world. Because of this, rain gently covers other small sounds that might otherwise interrupt the calm. A distant car passing, a floor creaking, the faint movement of air through a room. These little noises become less noticeable when rain is falling. They blend softly into the background. The brain no longer needs to pay attention to every small sound. Instead, it settles into the larger, more predictable rhythm of the rain. This is one reason many people find rain so comforting when they are trying to sleep. Without rain, the night can sometimes feel too quiet. In deep silence, even a tiny sound can seem sharp or unexpected. But rain fills that silence with something soft and steady. The mind listens to the rain instead. And because the rain never rushes, the mind slowly begins to follow the same pace. Slow, calm, unhurried. Imagine once again the quiet room around you. Perhaps a faint glow from a bedside lamp, or maybe just the dim softness of nighttime. Outside the window, the rain continues its gentle journey from cloud to earth. You can almost picture the droplets gathering high above, forming slowly within the cool air of the clouds, and then drifting downward through the night. Some fall onto rooftops, some onto leaves, some onto the ground where they disappear quietly into the soil. Each drop adds its tiny voice to the larger sound, and together they create that soft, endless rhythm. The brain listens to this rhythm in a very natural way. Humans have lived with rain for as long as we have existed. Long before modern sounds filled our cities, rain was one of the most familiar night sounds. Our ancestors heard it falling on forests, on rivers, on the roofs of simple homes. They fell asleep while rain tapped softly above them. And over many thousands of years, the human mind grew comfortable with that sound. It became associated with safety, with shelter, with rest. So when the brain hears rain today, something ancient and familiar awakens. The sound feels natural, safe, predictable. And because it is predictable, the mind can let go of its constant alertness. You might notice how the sound of rain does not stay exactly the same every moment. Sometimes the drops become slightly heavier, sometimes softer. Sometimes a faint breeze shifts the direction of the falling water. These small changes are gentle, never sudden. They give the mind something soft to follow without ever demanding attention, like watching slow clouds drifting across the sky, or waves moving quietly across the surface of a lake. The brain enjoys these kinds of slow patterns. They give the mind permission to wander, to drift, to settle into a quieter state. If you listen closely in your imagination, you might hear how the rain touches different surfaces outside. Some drops land on the roof with a soft tapping sound. Others fall onto tree leaves, creating tiny scattered whispers. Some reach the ground, landing quietly in grass or soil where they make almost no sound at all. All of these tiny sounds blend together. They create a soft landscape of sound, a gentle background that continues without effort. And within that background, the mind slowly finds rest. Thoughts may come and go, small memories might drift past, but the rain remains steady, always there, always calm. It is like a quiet companion during the night. The brain does not need to solve anything. It does not need to analyze the sound. It simply listens. And as it listens, the rhythm of the rain begins to guide the mind toward deeper calm. Your breathing might begin to match the slow pace of the sound. Inhale gently, exhale slowly. The rain continues falling outside, drop after drop after drop, minute after minute. Sometimes people describe this experience as the mind switching off, but it is not really turning off. It is more like the mind turning down the brightness, like dimming a light slowly. The busy parts of the brain grow quieter. The thinking slows. The constant attention to small details fades into the background. And in its place, there is simply the gentle presence of sound. Rain falling through the night, soft, steady, unhurried. If you imagine the world outside now, the rain may still be drifting down through the dark sky, clouds moving slowly above, trees standing quietly below, droplets tracing slow paths along the glass of a window. The whole world wrapped in that quiet sound. And as the brain listens to this endless, gentle rhythm, it begins to settle deeper into calm, just like the earth quietly absorbing the falling rain. The mind absorbs the sound, letting it soften every busy thought. The rain continues, patiently, without effort, and the mind follows it, slowly, gently, drifting along with the quiet rhythm of the falling water, ready to move softly into the next peaceful thought. Now imagine that the rain has moved beyond the quiet window and the quiet streets, and it has drifted into a wide and peaceful forest. High above the forest floor, soft clouds stretch across the sky. They move slowly over distant mountains, carrying gentle curtains of rain across valleys and hills. The air is cool and calm, and beneath the clouds, the forest waits quietly. Tall trees stand close together, their trunks rising upward toward a canopy of leaves that form a soft green roof over the land. The branches sway only slightly in the slow movement of the air. For a moment, everything is still. Then the rain begins. At first, it is very light. A few scattered drops drift down through the branches, landing softly on the highest leaves. Each droplet makes the faintest tapping sound as it touches the smooth surface of a leaf. Tap, tap, tap. Soon more droplets follow, joining together until the forest is filled with a delicate pattern of sound. Rain falling on leaves does not sound sharp or sudden. The leaves soften each drop, turning the sound into something gentle and scattered. Thousands of tiny taps spread through the canopy above, creating a quiet rhythm that travels from branch to branch. If you were standing there beneath the trees, you might hear the rain arrive first in the treetops, a distant whisper above. Then slowly the water begins to move downward. Some droplets gather along the edges of leaves, growing heavier until they slip free and fall again toward the forest floor. Others travel along slender branches, tracing small paths along the bark before dropping to the ground below. And beneath the trees, the earth waits patiently. The forest floor is soft. Layers of fallen leaves, moss, and soil have been resting there for years, slowly building a thick and quiet blanket over the ground. When the rain reaches this layer, the sound almost disappears. The droplets sink gently into the earth. Soft, quiet, unnoticed. The soil slowly drinks the water, absorbing it drop by drop. And as the rain continues falling, a cool mist begins to form between the trees. The air grows slightly hazy, softening the distant shapes of trunks and branches. Mountains that rise beyond the forest become wrapped in pale clouds of drifting mist. From a distance, the landscape begins to look almost dreamlike. Gray clouds resting on the slopes, dark forests stretching along the valleys, rain moving slowly through the air like a quiet curtain. In places where the land slopes downward, the falling water gathers together in small streams. At first, these streams are very small, tiny trickles winding through the soil. They slip between stones and roots, slowly finding their way downhill. As more rain falls, the streams grow slightly larger. Water begins to move over the surface of smooth rocks, creating faint ripples that catch the dim forest light. Some of these small streams eventually reach larger creeks and rivers. There, the rain joins the steady flow of water that has been traveling through the landscape for countless years. The river listens to the rain quietly. Each droplet that reaches its surface creates a small ring that spreads outward before fading into the slow current. Thousands of these tiny rings appear and disappear across the water, soft circles forming and fading over and over again. The rhythm of rain and water becomes part of the forest's quiet music. Even the wildlife of the forest responds gently to the falling rain. Many animals become calm and still during rainfall. A deer may stand beneath the shelter of thick branches, its ears slowly turning as it listens to the soft sounds around it. Drops land quietly along its back and slide down through its fur. The deer remains peaceful and unhurried. Nearby, a small fox may curl itself beneath a fallen log where the rain barely reaches. It listens to the steady tapping above while resting quietly. Birds tuck themselves deeper into the shelter of the trees. Some sit silently on branches, feathers puffed slightly against the cool air. Others rest inside hidden nests where the thick canopy protects them from the falling drops. Even insects move more slowly. The forest becomes a place of patience. Nothing rushes, nothing forces movement. The rain sets the pace. Drop by drop, the entire landscape follows its rhythm. If you are walking slowly through this forest path, you might notice how the air smells different during rain. The scent of wet leaves rises gently from the ground. The soil releases a deep, earthy fragrance that spreads softly through the cool air. Pine needles glisten with tiny droplets. Moss grows brighter in color, its green surface shining as water collects across it. The forest becomes refreshed, clean, calm. Sometimes the rain grows slightly heavier for a few moments. The tapping in the treetops becomes more noticeable. Leaves tremble softly as more droplets gather and fall. But even then, the forest remains peaceful. There is no sudden noise, no sharp movement, only the steady continuation of rain. In mountain forests, the experience can feel even quieter. Clouds drift slowly across the slopes, touching the tops of trees and wrapping the mountains in soft gray mist. Rain moves through the high branches of pine and fir trees. Their needles catch the falling droplets, holding them for a moment before letting them fall again. Sometimes the clouds sink so low that they move between the trees themselves. The forest becomes surrounded by mist. Shapes appear softer. Distances fade gently into the pale air. In these moments, the rain seems almost weightless. Droplets drift silently through the fog, barely making a sound as they touch the earth. The mountains breathe slowly beneath the clouds. Streams continue their quiet journey down the slopes. And the forest listens patiently. Rain has always been part of these landscapes, long before people walked through these forests. Long before trails and roads appeared, the rain was already falling here. Season after season, year after year, quietly feeding rivers, nourishing trees, refreshing the soil. The entire forest depends on this slow and steady gift from the sky. Every leaf, every root, every stream receives its share of the falling water. And so when rain arrives, the forest does not resist it. It welcomes it. The trees open their leaves, the soil softens, the rivers rise gently. All of nature moves in harmony with the rhythm of rain. If you imagine sitting quietly somewhere within this forest, perhaps beneath the shelter of a large tree, you might notice how deeply peaceful the moment feels. The rain continues its endless journey downward. Leaves shimmer as droplets slide from their edges. Small streams whisper through the stones. Mist drifts slowly between distant trunks. Nothing demands attention. Nothing needs to be done. The forest simply exists, breathing quietly with the rain. And if you listen long enough, you may begin to feel how the steady rhythm of nature begins to guide your own thoughts. Just like the rain drifting from cloud to earth, the mind begins to drift gently as well. Thoughts soften, breathing slows. The quiet landscape of the forest seems to extend into the calm landscape of the mind. The rain continues falling patiently through the trees, and the mountains, rivers, soil, and wildlife all move together within this gentle rhythm of nature, preparing the mind to wander peacefully into the next quiet scene of the night. Long before cities and bright electric lights, long before roads and engines and the steady hum of modern life, human beings lived much closer to the quiet rhythms of the natural world. The sky, the wind, the sun, and the rain shaped each day. People woke with the first soft light of morning, when the sky slowly brightened above forests, plains, or valleys. The air was often cool and still at that hour. Birds would begin their gentle morning calls, and thin smoke might rise from small fires as people prepared for the day. Much of life happened outdoors. Food was gathered, fields were tended, tools were made, animals were followed, and paths were walked slowly across the landscape. The movement of the sun across the sky quietly guided the passing of time. Morning light meant activity. Midday meant warmth and effort. Evening meant rest. And somewhere within this natural rhythm, rain would sometimes arrive. Not every day, and not always in the same way. Sometimes the clouds gathered slowly over the horizon, drifting across the sky like soft gray mountains. At other times, Rain appeared gently and quietly, almost unnoticed at first. A few scattered drops, then a few more. Soon the soft sound of falling water could be heard across the land. For early humans, rain was not simply weather. It was part of the living rhythm of the world around them. When rain began to fall, the entire pace of life naturally changed. Imagine a small settlement many centuries ago. Perhaps a few simple shelters made from wood, stone, or packed earth. The roofs might be covered with reeds, branches, or thatch. Nearby, a narrow path leads toward a forest or a river. People are moving through their daily tasks. Some are gathering food, some are shaping tools, some are preparing fires or repairing small parts of their homes. Then the sky begins to darken slightly. The air cools, a quiet breeze moves through the leaves, and slowly the first drops of rain begin to fall. At first the sound might be faint, just a soft tapping on leaves or rooftops. But soon the rhythm becomes clearer. Tap, tap, tap. Rain spreads gently across the land. When this happened, people did not rush through their tasks in the same way they might during clear weather. Instead, rain often signaled a natural pause. Tools were slowly set aside. Paths became softer and muddy. The ground grew damp beneath bare feet or simple sandals. And so people gradually returned toward shelter. Inside the small homes and huts, the air felt warmer and calmer. Fires might be kept burning gently, sending soft light into the dim space. Families gathered together. Some might sit quietly while listening to the sound of rain falling on the roof above them. Others might repair clothing or tools while the weather passed. Children might rest beside their parents, watching the soft movement of smoke rising toward the ceiling. The rain outside created a peaceful boundary between the inside world and the outside world. Beyond the shelter, the landscape became wet and misty. But inside, there was warmth, quiet, and safety. This simple contrast, rain outside and shelter inside, became deeply familiar to human life. For thousands of years, people experienced this same moment again and again. The steady sound of rain tapping softly above, the dim light of a cloudy afternoon, the quiet presence of family or companions nearby. Rain slowed the pace of activity. Fields could not always be worked during steady rainfall. Hunting became more difficult. Paths through forests and hills grew slippery and quiet. So rainy days often became days of waiting. But waiting did not mean discomfort. It often meant rest, a chance to pause, a chance to breathe. Early human life was closely connected to energy and effort. Many daily tasks required strength and movement, walking long distances, gathering wood, working with soil, carrying water. These activities filled many hours of the day, but rain naturally interrupted this cycle of effort. When clouds covered the sky and the steady rhythm of rainfall began, the world itself seemed to invite people to slow down. Inside shelters, time moved differently. Conversations became quieter. Stories were told softly. People watched the small flames of a fire flicker and dance. The steady tapping of rain above blended with the gentle crackling of burning wood. Outside, the landscape transformed under the falling water. Paths turned darker with moisture. Leaves shone with tiny droplets. The air carried the rich scent of wet soil and plants. If someone stepped briefly outside during the rain, they would feel the cool touch of droplets on their skin and hear the soft hush of water falling across the trees and grass. But soon they would return indoors again, drawn back by warmth and shelter. these quiet, rainy hours became part of the rhythm of human memory. Rain was not always seen as an inconvenience. Often, it was simply another phase of the day. Just as sunrise began activity and sunset brought rest, rain created its own gentle pause in the middle of life's movement. Even the mind responded to this change. The steady rhythm of rainfall created a peaceful background sound that filled the air. Without the bright sun overhead and the constant movement of daily work, thoughts had space to wander. People might sit quietly while listening to the rain, watching droplets slide slowly from the edges of the roof, listening to water trickle along small channels in the ground outside. The world felt softer, more still. Sometimes rain lasted only a short while. Clouds would drift away, sunlight would return, and the land would slowly dry beneath the warm air. Activity would begin again. People would step back outside. Work would continue. But sometimes rain lasted longer, an entire afternoon, or even several days. During these longer periods, the quiet rhythm of rain shaped the pace of entire communities. People stayed closer to home. They repaired tools. They prepared food. They rested. The constant motion of daily life softened into something slower and more reflective. And throughout it all, the rain continued falling. Not loudly, not urgently, just a steady and patient rhythm. For early farmers, rain carried another meaning as well. It nourished the soil. Fields of grain and vegetables depended on the water that fell from the sky. So when rain arrived, people often felt gratitude as well as calm. Each drop soaking into the earth meant that plants could grow, rivers could flow, animals could drink. Rain supported the quiet cycle of life itself, and so the sound of rainfall became something deeply familiar across generations. Children grew up listening to it. Elders remembered countless rainy seasons throughout their lives. The rhythm of rain accompanied births, harvests, quiet evenings, and long nights beside the fire. It was always there, part of the natural world. The human mind began to connect rain with certain feelings. Not excitement, not urgency, but calmness, reflection, rest. When rain falls, the landscape itself appears to slow down. Wind softens, animals grow quieter, clouds drift slowly overhead, the light becomes dim and gentle. It is as if the world lowers its voice, and because early humans lived so closely with nature, they moved in harmony with these changes. When the sun shone brightly, they worked beneath it. When darkness arrived, they slept. And when rain fell, they paused. They waited. They listened. In those moments, people became observers of the quiet beauty of the natural world. The way water gathered along leaves. The way small streams formed along the ground. The way clouds drifted slowly across the sky. Rain offered time to notice these small details. Time to breathe. Time to simply exist without rushing. Even today, something of that ancient rhythm remains within us. When we hear the sound of rain falling outside, the mind often remembers those old patterns. The idea that rain is a moment to slow down, a moment to step away from effort, a moment to rest inside while the world outside becomes soft and quiet. It is a memory carried quietly through thousands of years of human experience. Rain tapping on roofs, rain falling across forests and rivers, rain soaking into the soil that feeds the earth, and inside small shelters across time, people listening quietly, letting the steady rhythm of rainfall guide them into calm. The rain continues falling patiently, just as it always has, drop after drop, soft and steady, a gentle reminder of the slow and peaceful rhythm that has shaped human life for countless generations, and that still carries us softly toward rest as the night continues. As the night grows quieter and the world settles gently into rest, there is often a soft layer of sound that fills the silence. Sometimes it is the distant whisper of wind through trees. Sometimes it is the quiet hum of air moving through a room. And sometimes, perhaps the most comforting of all, it is the gentle and steady sound of rain. This kind of sound belongs to something people often call white noise. But the idea behind it is very simple. White noise is not a single sharp sound. It is not a voice or a sudden noise or something that demands attention. Instead, it is a soft and even background sound, a gentle layer of noise that spreads quietly through the air. It is steady, it is consistent, and most importantly, it does not change very much. The sound of rain is one of the most natural examples of this. When rain falls, thousands of tiny droplets move from the sky to the earth. Each droplet creates a small sound as it touches something below: a leaf, a rooftop, a window, the ground. On its own, one small droplet might be barely noticeable, but when many droplets fall together, their sounds blend into one continuous gentle rhythm, a quiet shh that fills the space around us. If you imagine lying comfortably somewhere warm and peaceful, perhaps in a quiet room while rain falls outside, you might begin to notice how that soft sound seems to settle into the background of your awareness. It is there, but it does not ask for your attention. It simply continues, patiently, drop after drop. The human brain is always listening to the world. Even when we are resting, even when our eyes are closed, the brain continues to notice sounds around us. Long ago, this ability helped humans stay safe. A sudden sound in the night could mean that something important was happening nearby. A branch snapping, an animal moving, footsteps in the dark. Because of this, the brain naturally pays attention to changes in sound. Sudden noises, sharp sounds, unexpected movement in the quiet. But when the brain hears something steady and predictable, something different happens. The mind slowly realizes that the sound is safe. There is no change, no sudden movement, no signal that something needs attention. Just the same gentle rhythm continuing over and over again. And once the brain understands that the sound is steady, it begins to relax. The listening part of the mind softens. It no longer needs to stay alert. It can rest. Rain is especially good at creating this kind of calming background. Because every drop is slightly different, the sound of rain has a soft texture to it. Some drops land on leaves, some on rooftops, some on the ground. Together they create a wide, gentle blanket of sound. It spreads across the night like a soft layer of calm. And inside that calm, smaller sounds begin to fade. Imagine a very quiet room with no sound at all. In that deep silence, even the smallest noise can feel noticeable. A floorboard creaking, a distant car passing, the faint movement of air through a window. In silence, these sounds can stand out sharply. The brain notices them immediately. But when rain is falling outside, the situation changes. The soft background sound of rain gently covers those smaller noises. They blend into the larger rhythm. Instead of silence being broken by sudden sounds, there is simply a steady layer of calm noise surrounding everything. The brain no longer needs to listen carefully for every little change. It can relax. It can allow its attention to drift. This is one of the quiet reasons why many people sleep more easily when there is soft noise around them. The sound creates a kind of protective blanket for the mind, a calm, steady presence that keeps sudden noises from standing out too sharply. The mind begins to trust the sound. It understands that nothing unexpected is happening, just rain falling softly outside, drop after drop, minute after minute. The brain enjoys patterns like this. When sounds repeat gently and predictably, the mind naturally begins to follow the rhythm. Breathing slows, thoughts become softer, the body begins to settle. It is similar to the way waves move along a quiet shoreline. The waves arrive one after another, always returning to the same slow rhythm, or the way wind moves through tall grass, soft and continuous. Rain has the same gentle pattern, and as the brain listens, it slowly synchronizes with the calm pace of the sound. Thoughts that once moved quickly begin to slow down. The mind stops jumping from one idea to the next. Instead, thoughts drift softly, like clouds moving slowly across the sky. The steady sound of rain becomes almost like a quiet companion during the night. It does not interrupt. It does not change suddenly. It simply continues, always there in the background. Some people describe this feeling as the mind switching off, but it is not really turning off. It is more like the mind dimming the lights. The busy parts of thinking grow quieter. The constant problem solving and planning of the day slowly fades away. In its place comes a calmer state, a softer awareness. The brain continues to hear the rain, but it no longer analyzes the sound. It simply accepts it. Just as the forest accepts rain falling through its branches, just as rivers accept the water flowing into them, the mind receives the sound and allows it to pass gently through. If you imagine the world outside now, perhaps the rain is still drifting softly from the clouds. Tiny droplets moving slowly through the cool night air. Some land on rooftops, creating soft tapping sounds. Others touch the leaves of trees, scattering delicate whispers through the branches. Some slide quietly down window glass, tracing slow paths downward before disappearing. All of these small sounds blend together into one calm rhythm, a rhythm that continues without effort. And the brain, always listening quietly in the background, recognizes that rhythm as something safe, something peaceful, something familiar. For thousands of years, humans have fallen asleep while rain fell outside their shelters. Long before modern buildings and thick walls, people listened to rain tapping on simple roofs made from leaves, straw, wood, or stone. Inside those shelters, the sound of rain meant protection. Outside, the world was wet and dark. Inside, there was warmth. There was rest, there was sleep. Over time, the human mind came to associate that sound with comfort, with safety, with the quiet hours of night. And even today, when we hear rain falling steadily outside, something inside us remembers that ancient connection. The brain relaxes, the body softens, the mind becomes quiet. The rain continues falling, drop after drop after drop, always steady, always patient. The gentle sound spreads through the air like a calm river flowing slowly through the night. And as you listen to that quiet rhythm, the mind begins to drift further and further into rest. Breathing slows. Thoughts fade into the background. The steady sound of rain becomes the only thing the mind needs to follow, just like a soft path through the darkness, guiding you gently forward, toward deeper calm, toward peaceful rest. The rain continues, quietly, endlessly, wrapping the night in its soft, comforting sound, while the mind settles peacefully into stillness, ready to drift gently onward into the quiet, dreamlike calm of the next moment. Imagine a quiet day when the sky is covered with soft gray clouds. The light outside is gentle and dim, not dark, but softened as if the world itself has lowered its voice. The sun is hidden somewhere above the clouds, and the air feels cooler and calmer than usual. The bright colors of the day fade slightly, replaced by a peaceful palette of silvery light and quiet shadows. And slowly, almost without being noticed, the rain begins to fall. At first, it may only be a few scattered drops, tiny taps on rooftops, leaves, and pavement. But soon those small sounds gather together into a soft and steady rhythm that spreads across the entire landscape. Rain changes the mood of the world in a very subtle way. The sky becomes still, the air grows quiet, and the pace of life begins to slow. Many people notice that on rainy days, they feel different. Thoughts move a little more slowly, movements become calmer. The mind feels less hurried, as if something in the atmosphere has gently invited it to pause. This feeling is not unusual at all. Rain naturally creates an environment that encourages stillness. The first change often comes from the light. When clouds cover the sky, sunlight becomes softer and more even. Bright contrasts disappear. The sharp glare of midday light fades into a gentle glow that spreads across everything. Under this dimmer light, the world appears calmer. Buildings look quieter. Trees seem to stand more peacefully. Roads glisten softly instead of shining brightly. The eyes relax in this kind of light. Bright sunlight often encourages activity. It energizes the body and fills the world with movement. But when the sky becomes cloudy, the atmosphere shifts toward calmness. The light feels softer, and the body responds by slowing down. Rain also changes the sounds of the world. On clear days, the air carries many different noises: footsteps, traffic, distant voices, wind, birds, and the constant movement of daily life. But when rain begins to fall, something interesting happens. The rain gently covers those scattered sounds. Its steady rhythm spreads across the air like a quiet blanket. The tiny droplets create a continuous layer of sound that softens everything else. Instead of many separate noises competing for attention, there is now a single calm rhythm filling the space. Drop after drop. Tap after tap. The mind begins to follow that rhythm almost without realizing it. When the brain hears steady, repeating sounds, it quickly understands that nothing unexpected is happening. There is no sudden movement or sharp noise to react to, just the same gentle pattern continuing over and over again. And because the brain recognizes that this sound is safe and predictable, it slowly relaxes. Thoughts begin to wander more gently. The sense of urgency that sometimes fills a busy day begins to fade. Plans, tasks, and worries soften slightly, like distant shapes fading behind mist. Rain has a way of creating quiet spaces for reflection. On bright sunny days, the world often encourages motion. People walk quickly. Cars move along busy roads. Conversations rise and fall in crowded places. But rain changes that energy. Streets become calmer. People move more slowly beneath umbrellas. Parks and open spaces grow quieter as the falling water encourages everyone to seek shelter. The the world itself seems to take a deep breath. And within that calmer environment, the mind begins to turn inward. Instead of focusing outward on constant activity, thoughts begin to drift gently through memories, ideas, and quiet observations. Perhaps you have noticed this feeling before while watching rain fall outside a window. You sit comfortably inside, warm and dry, while the world outside becomes wrapped in mist and falling water. Droplets gather on the glass, joining together and sliding slowly downward in wandering paths. Streetlights glow softly through the rain, their reflections stretching across wet pavement. The scene feels peaceful, and as you watch, your thoughts begin to slow down. You may find yourself remembering small moments from the past, a quiet walk in the rain years ago, the smell of wet earth in a forest, the sound of rain tapping on the roof during a peaceful evening. Rain invites these kinds of gentle reflections because it removes the pressure to move quickly. It tells the world that it is okay to slow down for a while. Even the landscape responds to rain in a calm and steady way. Trees stand quietly as droplets gather along their leaves. Rivers receive the falling water without hurry. Soil absorbs the moisture slowly, drinking in each drop as it arrives. Everything in nature moves patiently during rainfall. There is no rush in the movement of rain. Clouds release their water slowly. The droplets fall gently through the air, guided only by gravity and the quiet pull of the earth below. And this slow rhythm spreads into the mood of the day. When people step outside during rain, they often walk more carefully and thoughtfully. The sound of water underfoot reminds them to move slowly. Umbrellas open like small shelters. Jackets are pulled closer. Conversations become quieter beneath the steady background of falling water. The entire atmosphere becomes more reflective. Even the colors of the world seem to encourage calmness. Cloudy skies soften the brightness of the landscape. Greens become deeper, browns richer. Blues turn into gentle shades of gray. Rain paints the world in calm colors. The mind naturally responds to this softer environment by relaxing its pace. Thoughts slow down. Breathing becomes deeper. The body settles into a quieter rhythm. For thousands of years, humans have experienced rainy days in this same way. Long before cities and modern technology, people lived very closely with the natural patterns of weather. Rain often meant that outdoor work paused for a while. Fields rested. Travelers waited beneath shelter. Families gathered indoors while the steady tapping of rain filled the air. During these quiet hours, people talked, rested, repaired tools, or simply listened to the falling water. Rain became connected with reflection and stillness. And over many generations, the human mind began to associate the sound and atmosphere of rain with moments of rest. Even today, those ancient patterns remain quietly within us. When clouds gather and rain begins to fall, something deep inside the mind recognizes the familiar rhythm. It understands that the world is slowing down. And so the mind slows as well. The constant noise of daily thinking becomes softer. Instead of racing from one idea to another, thoughts drift slowly, like clouds moving across the sky. This is one reason rainy days can feel peaceful, even when they are quiet or gray. The world becomes less demanding. There are fewer distractions, fewer urgent signals calling for attention, just the gentle presence of rain. If you listen closely, you may notice how the rhythm of rainfall continues without effort. Each drop falls naturally. Each sound blends into the next. Together they create a calm and steady flow of sound that fills the air like a quiet river. The mind begins to float along with that rhythm, and as it does, a sense of peaceful reflection spreads through your thoughts. Rain does not rush. Rain does not push the world forward. Instead, it allows everything to pause, to breathe, to exist quietly for a while. And in that quiet space, the mind finds room to slow down, just like the clouds drifting slowly across the sky, just like the droplets sliding gently down a window. The rain continues falling patiently, wrapping the world in its calm and thoughtful mood. And as the steady rhythm carries on through the soft gray light of the day, the mind follows it naturally, moving more slowly, thinking more softly, resting in the peaceful atmosphere that only rain can create. Rainy nights and the human mind. Imagine a quiet night where the world outside has grown still. The sky is dark and heavy with clouds, and somewhere above those clouds, the moon waits patiently, hidden behind a soft curtain of drifting rain. The air outside feels cool and calm, and the streets and rooftops glisten faintly under distant lights. And then there is the sound, the gentle sound of rain. It begins softly, almost unnoticed at first. A few scattered drops touch the roof. A faint tapping on a window. The quiet whisper of water meeting leaves and pavement. Soon the sound grows into a steady rhythm, not loud, not urgent, just a calm and continuous pattern of falling water that spreads through the night like a peaceful melody. Inside, everything feels warm and safe. Perhaps you are resting in a quiet room. A small lamp glows softly in the corner, filling the space with gentle golden light. Shadows rest peacefully along the walls. A blanket lies comfortably around you, holding warmth close while the cool night air waits outside. Beyond the window, rain continues to fall. Each droplet begins its journey high in the clouds, drifting slowly downward through the dark sky before meeting the earth below. Some land on rooftops with a soft tapping sound. Others slide along tree branches before dropping quietly into the soil. Together they create a rhythm that feels steady and endless. Rain has a special way of transforming the night. During clear evenings, the world outside can feel wide and open. Sounds travel far through the air. The movement of cars, distant voices, and passing wind often fill the quiet space. But when rain arrives, something changes. The rain gathers those scattered sounds and gently softens them. The steady falling water becomes the main sound of the night. It spreads across rooftops, streets, and forests, creating a peaceful background that seems to wrap around everything. The world grows quieter, and inside warm rooms, people begin to relax. There is something deeply comforting about being indoors while rain falls outside. The contrast itself creates a sense of calm. Outside, the rain moves freely through the dark sky, touching trees and rivers and open fields. Inside, there is shelter, there is warmth, there is stillness. For thousands of years, humans have experienced rainy nights in this same way. Long before modern buildings and electric lights, people gathered inside simple shelters when storms passed through the landscape. Fires glowed gently within those homes, sending warm light across wooden walls while rain tapped steadily above. Families rested together, listening to the sound of water falling on rooftops made of leaves, straw, or stone. The sound meant safety. Outside, the night belonged to the rain and the wind. Inside, the world was calm. Even today, something in the human mind still remembers that feeling. When we hear rain during the night, the brain often recognizes it as a peaceful signal. The sound is steady and predictable. There are no sudden changes or sharp noises demanding attention. Instead, the rain continues patiently, minute after minute, creating a calm environment where the mind can finally rest. This is one reason rainy nights often feel so cozy and comforting. The darkness outside becomes softer, clouds hide the brightness of the sky, and the rain fills the air with gentle sound. Streetlights glow through the falling water, casting long, shimmering reflections across wet pavement. Inside homes, warm light shines through windows, creating small islands of comfort in the quiet darkness. Imagine walking through a neighborhood during such a night. Rain falls gently across rooftops and sidewalks. Trees sway slightly in the cool air. Most windows glow faintly with warm light, and behind those windows people are resting, reading, or preparing for sleep. The world moves more slowly during rainy nights. There are fewer footsteps outside, fewer voices. The rain encourages everyone to retreat indoors, to pause their activity, and settle into a quiet rhythm. Within that quiet rhythm, the mind begins to slow as well. Thoughts become softer. The busy concerns of the day begin to fade, like distant shapes disappearing into mist. Rain helps create a feeling of enclosure, almost like a soft barrier between the inside world and the outside world. The falling water surrounds the house, the building or the room like a gentle shield. It separates the warmth inside from the cool darkness outside. This feeling often makes people feel protected. The mind understands that there is shelter from the rain, and that knowledge allows the body to relax. Perhaps you can imagine lying beneath a blanket while rain taps quietly on the roof above you. The room is dim and peaceful. Maybe a small lamp glows nearby, or perhaps only the soft gray light from the rainy night filters through the curtains. Outside, droplets gather along the glass of the window. They slide slowly downward, leaving thin wandering trails before disappearing along the frame. If you listen closely, you may notice how the sound of rain changes slightly from moment to moment. Some drops fall heavier than others. Some land on metal gutters with a faint ringing tone. Others strike leaves and branches, creating tiny scattered whispers in the darkness. All of these sounds blend together into one calm and steady rhythm. The mind enjoys rhythms like this. They are predictable, gentle, endless. The brain does not need to analyze the sound or react to it. Instead, it simply accepts the pattern and allows it to continue in the background. As that happens, the body begins to relax more deeply. Breathing slows, muscles loosen. The steady rhythm of rain becomes almost like a lullaby, played by the night itself. Rainy nights also create a unique atmosphere of quiet reflection. During the day, bright light and constant movement keep the mind busy. There are tasks to complete, places to go, and people to meet. But at night, especially when rain is falling, the world naturally grows more still. The darkness outside becomes deeper and softer. The clouds hide the stars, and the sound of rain fills the air with calm. In this quiet environment, the mind often drifts toward gentle thoughts. Memories may appear slowly, like old photographs emerging from a drawer. Perhaps you remember a childhood evening spent listening to rain through an open window. or a long drive through a quiet countryside while raindrops moved across the windshield, or a peaceful night when you felt safe and warm while a storm passed overhead. Rain has a way of bringing these quiet memories to the surface, not in a dramatic or emotional way, just gently, softly. The steady rhythm of falling water encourages the mind to wander through its own peaceful landscape of thoughts. Outside, the rain continues its endless journey. Clouds release droplet after droplet, each one drifting slowly downward before touching the earth. Some join rivers and streams. Some sink into soil, where plants and trees drink their quiet nourishment. Some simply rest on leaves or stones before disappearing into the ground. The rain connects sky and earth in a slow and patient cycle that has existed for millions of years. And tonight, that same ancient rhythm continues. You can hear it in the quiet tapping above, in the soft whisper along the window, in the gentle hum of rainfall spreading across the night. Inside the room, everything remains calm. The warm light glows softly. The air feels still and peaceful. Outside, the rain continues falling patiently, surrounding the world with its steady and comforting sound. And as that sound continues, the mind begins to follow it. Thoughts grow quieter. Breathing becomes deeper. The body settles gently into rest. The rain does not rush. It falls at its own calm pace, guiding the night forward one soft drop at a time. And within that steady rhythm, the human mind finds something it has always needed. A moment of safety, a moment of stillness, a moment of quiet comfort beneath the peaceful sound of rain. The quiet comfort of rain as the night settles gently around you. Imagine once again the quiet sound of rain falling softly outside. Not a storm that rushes or shouts, but a calm and steady rain. The kind that arrives quietly and stays for a while, wrapping the world in a soft curtain of sound. Drop after drop, tap after tap, the rain continues its endless journey from sky to earth. Throughout the night, the world becomes calmer beneath this steady rhythm. Clouds move slowly across the sky, carrying their gentle rain over forests, mountains, rivers, and quiet neighborhoods where warm lights glow behind windows. Inside those homes, people rest. Rooms are softly lit. Blankets are warm. The air feels still and peaceful. And outside, the rain continues falling patiently. For thousands of years, humans have listened to this same quiet sound. Long before electric lights or modern buildings, rain fell across forests and open fields while people rested inside simple shelters. Fires glowed softly while droplets tapped against rooftops made from wood, leaves, or stone. The sound meant safety. It meant shelter from the weather outside. And over many generations, the human mind learned something important from this simple experience. When rain falls outside, it is time to slow down, time to rest, time to be still. Even today, the same feeling often appears when rain begins to fall. The world outside becomes softer. Streets grow quiet beneath drifting water. Trees shimmer as droplets gather along their leaves. Rivers accept the rain without hurry, carrying it slowly through valleys and forests. Everything in nature follows the calm rhythm of rainfall. Nothing rushes. Nothing demands attention. The rain simply continues, patient and steady. And as you listen to it now, you may notice how your own thoughts begin to follow that same quiet rhythm. Earlier, we explored how rain touches many parts of the world, how it falls gently across forests and mountains, how it nourishes rivers and soil, how animals grow quiet beneath its steady rhythm. Nature itself becomes calmer when rain arrives. Birds settle deeper into their nests. Animals rest beneath branches or inside hidden shelters. Even the wind often softens, allowing the gentle sound of rainfall to fill the air. The entire landscape seems to pause for a while. The rain creates a moment of stillness across the earth. And the human mind responds to this stillness in a very natural way. When the sound of rain surrounds us, the brain begins to relax. The steady rhythm tells the mind that there is nothing sudden to worry about. No sharp noises, no unexpected movement. Just the calm and predictable sound of falling water. Because of this, the body slowly lets go of tension. Breathing becomes deeper. Muscles soften. Thoughts drift more gently through the mind. Rain gives the mind permission to rest. It creates a peaceful background where the busy concerns of the day can slowly fade. Perhaps you have felt this before during a quiet evening at home. You sit near a window while rain moves softly across the glass. Outside, the world is gray and misty. Inside, the room is warm and calm. A small lamp glows nearby, casting gentle shadows along the walls. And as you listen to the rain, your thoughts begin to wander slowly. Memories appear softly. Ideas drift through the mind without effort. There is no need to hurry. The rain itself moves slowly, and the mind follows its peaceful pace. This quiet connection between rain and relaxation has existed throughout human history. Ancient people experienced rainy days and nights in very similar ways. When clouds gathered and rain began to fall, work often paused. People returned to shelter. Families gathered together. Stories were told beside warm fires while rain tapped steadily above. The rhythm of rain shaped the rhythm of daily life. It reminded people that nature itself moves in cycles. Sunlight and activity, clouds and rest, movement and stillness. Rain became a gentle signal that the world was slowing down. And in that slower pace, people found moments of reflection and calm. Even now, modern life still carries echoes of those ancient patterns. When rain falls outside your window tonight, you are experiencing the same peaceful sound that humans have heard for thousands of years. Rain tapping softly on rooftops, rain falling across quiet forests, rain feeding rivers and streams that travel slowly toward the sea. The same rhythm continues, generation after generation, and your mind still recognizes that rhythm as something familiar and comforting. It understands the quiet message hidden inside the sound of rainfall. You are safe. You can rest. The steady sound of rain also creates something else that helps the mind relax. It fills the silence. Instead of sudden noises interrupting the night, the rain creates a soft and continuous background of sound. Tiny droplets blend together into one calm whisper across the world. Because the sound is steady and predictable, the brain no longer needs to stay alert. It can finally relax its constant watchfulness. The mind settles into a quieter state. Thoughts slow down, breathing becomes deeper and calmer. The body prepares itself gently for rest. Now imagine the world outside once more. Rain continues falling softly across rooftops and trees. Streetlights glow through the misty air. Droplets slide slowly along windows before disappearing into the darkness below. Somewhere in the distance, a small stream carries rainwater through quiet grass and stones. Clouds drift slowly overhead, releasing their gentle rain across the sleeping landscape. Everything moves in harmony with the calm rhythm of nature, and inside your quiet room, that same rhythm surrounds you. The steady sound of rain fills the air like a soft blanket. It wraps around the night. It wraps around your thoughts. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to solve, just the quiet sound of rain, continuing patiently, drop after drop after drop, each one part of a peaceful pattern that has existed since long before humans first walked across the earth. The rain connects sky and ground, nature and rest, the outside world and the quiet calm within your own mind. And as the rhythm continues, you may feel your body growing heavier and more relaxed. Your breathing slows, your thoughts drift farther apart, like clouds moving gently across the sky. The night grows deeper, the rain continues its soft and endless journey. And somewhere within that gentle rhythm, your mind finds the comfort it has always known in the quiet sound of falling rain. You are safe here, warm and peaceful, while the rain falls softly outside. The world moves slowly tonight, and as the steady rhythm continues, you can allow yourself to drift gently into rest, carried peacefully by the quiet comfort of rain. As our story slowly comes to an end, allow the final thoughts to fade, gently, into the quiet of the night. The rain, the calm ideas, and the peaceful moments we've explored can settle softly in the background, like distant echoes of a quiet evening. There is no need to think about anything now. Your body can continue to relax, breathing slow and steady. If you are still awake, simply remain here a little longer and enjoy the calm atmosphere. And if sleep has already started to find you, let it arrive naturally and without effort. Thank you for spending this quiet moment here on Cozy Sleep Time. If you enjoy these calm stories and gentle explorations, you can return anytime for another peaceful journey into rest. For now, let the night grow quieter and quieter and quieter, and allow yourself to drift deeper into sleep.